Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time. Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
Yeah! I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.
All right, well, welcome back. Very exciting to be here for the third in this series, where today we're going to be talking about games 80 to 71. So we're cracking the I don't even know. It gets confusing after a while what percentage we've done. All we know is that these are some great games. And while last week I didn't have any new games on the list, this week I do. And the first one, that my tie might give you a clue.
Number 80, first and goal!
All right, my tie didn't give you a clue at all because it's first and goal, which is football, not basketball. But first and goal is a game that I've really been enjoying and really liked a lot when I played it this year. Now, I'm not a big American football fan. It's okay. I think people get actually a little too excited over how hard these guys can hit each other. But what I do like about football is me executing one play and you executing the other, and then we see what happens. And if you take football and boil it down to that, I find that part of it fascinating. And that is what a football game will do, while still retaining the excitement of something unexpected happening. And up to this point, I've really enjoyed Pizza Box football. But when I played First and Goal, I liked the First and Goal just as much, if not more. And then when First and Goal came out with the expansions, where now I have a box where you can see the lid doesn't even fit on because this is chock full of dice from all those expansions, well, in that regard, I think that it beats out Pizza Box football. Although Pizza Box football is a great game. So I'm not a huge sports person, but I do like the strategy in this game, and it feels like football as you go back and forth. It takes a lot of the extraterraneous stuff and kind of puts that away, and we're boiled down to a fast and fun and furious game with lots of dice.
Number 79, On the Underground.
Now, this game is not new to the list. In fact, it moved up a couple spots, which is actually unusual because most games usually move down a little. On the Underground, though, is such a unique game. It's a small game. It's a game that you really don't hear much about these days, although the designer has a brand new game coming out in just a few days at Essen. But On the Underground is a game about one passenger, one lazy passenger who everybody is working on to try to get him to visit the stations that you want him to go. And so you have these different lines that you're building, and he will always take the line that is the fastest way there or the most convenient way there. He'll never walk. If he has to switch 5 times to get where he's going to, this passenger will. So you need to build your trains correctly so that he takes your trains rather than other people's trains, because they will get him to the points where he needs to go. It's a very interesting game. Like I said, it's a little thinky, so I would prefer to play this with 2 or 3 people maximum, but just the idea of it and the execution, and just as I look at the board and watching the subway map build, it really does give a good underground subway feel to it. So for that reason, I like this game a lot, On the Underground.
Number 78, Thieves.
We have another game that's really not a newcomer to the list, and that's Thieves. Thieves is a game about digging for treasure. Now, you'll notice that Thieves is a pretty big box. This queen likes to make their boxes much bigger than they need to be, but inside this box, we have these bags here. And the thing I like about these bags is when you dig for treasure, you will actually reach into these bags and pull out a bunch of treasure tokens. The worthless ones, you will throw back into the bag, while the good ones, woohoo, I found this little statue head, are worth points, and they come out. So the first person to dig somewhere gets the better stuff, but there's still might be that stuff as the game goes by. It's just harder and harder to find. I like this game a lot. I just recently re-reviewed it because I enjoy it so much. Not so easy to find these days, but it's still out there, and one that the family will like because it's just the theme really comes strongly through this. Thebes.
77, Conquest on the Earth.
Here's a game that's new to the list, but last year was not the first year that I played it. I actually played it before that. Conquest of the Planet Earth. And Conquest of the Planet Earth is a cooperative game or a competitive game, but it works much better as a cooperative game where each person controls an alien race, and some funky alien race, think Mars Attacks type alien race, where you come in and conquer the Earth together, and you have special abilities, but the Earth just keeps fighting back with their military forces, and even a superhero will show up. And I really like that theming, and so this is just a fun theming for the game to have. It's silly. There's an expansion coming out for it, which I haven't played yet. I'm looking forward to that, but I just like the idea of this, just the coolness of it. You might even get, you know, pumped up as aliens. The other alien ships are getting blown up, but they just keep coming back, and hopefully you can get and conquer Earth within a specific amount of time. Just very entertaining. Certainly one I think has gotten short shrift. You don't hear many people talking about this cooperative game as compared to a lot of others, but it's one that is a lot of fun. Conquest of the Planet Earth.
Number 76.
And another new game to the list, and this is a newer game, and this is Core Worlds from Stronghold Games. Now, Stronghold made their debut by reprinting a lot of great games. Core Worlds is not a reprint, it's a new design by Andrew Parks, and it's a deck building game. And you might say, oh, yawn, another deck building game, but this one's different. In this one, you are trying to conquer worlds as fast as you can. Think Federation from the trilogy by Asimov. It's a really fun game because what you're doing is you're building up forces and trying to conquer planets before other people do. You don't actually fight each other, but you are trying. It's almost like a big game of chicken because you're trying to build an efficient deck that will produce troops and then pull those troops out and build a big army to attack someone. It's a little bit less of a deck builder because there's not really as much shuffling going on in this one. Instead, in this game, you're more concerned about when to attack with your army and when to build it up some more, when to recruit units and when to attack rather than waste time getting new units. And as the game goes by, the units get more powerful. It has a very clear progression. Not as many games have as clear of a progression as this one does. The very end of the game feels quite a bit different from the beginning. You feel like you've gone from the, not Stone Age, but the early space days to, you know, star cruisers by the end of it. And I like that a lot, with great artwork too. So I highly recommend Core Worlds.
Number 75. Flashpoint. Fire Rescues.
And another new one to the list, Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Now, Flashpoint Fire Rescue is another cooperative game. You'll see several of these cooperative games on my list because I do enjoy cooperative games. And Flashpoint has such a great new theme, that of firemen rushing into a fire, rescuing people. It's a theme people can get behind, and I really like this because I can bring this out, and it's one of the most instant, just grabbing games that I play with people where they're like, oh, wow, they understand it. The rules aren't that complicated, but many games aren't. But people get this one faster because the theme just makes sense. I'm supposed to run in. The fire spreads. Well, that makes sense. The walls will fall down because fire is burning them. That makes sense. I rescue a cat. That doesn't make sense. But, you know, there's just lots of fun. And they come out with expansions. But even if you never got the expansions and just played with the base game, I think there's a lot of fun inside this box. It's not a very big box, but the theme just comes through very strongly. So this was an easy choice for me. As soon as I thought of it, I knew it would be on a top 100 list somewhere. And just because of how enjoyable it is, and it works really well in a family situation.
74. Magic and Gathering.
This game gets a lot of hate from people, and you know, I can understand why. It brought in the collectible card gaming genre, something which has made many a teenage boy and his mother go broke. But that being said, I think it is an absolutely fantastic game. It was a good design. It's bloated now for sure, and people who tell you it's not are crazy because there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cards. Now you could buy just the base set that comes out every year and you would be fine, and now there's an iOS version, and that will probably help the game out considerably. And for me, the way I enjoy it is buying two decks like this and by playing them against each other. Maybe modifying them a little, but doing my best not to buy many, if any, new packs of cards. Now, Magic the Gathering may not be on my list next year because there's another game higher up in the list which I think might replace it as time goes by, and we'll see that game when we get to it. But for now, it's a fast two-player game. There's some things about it I still don't like only drawing one card per turn. That just drives me nuts. But I do like how the 5 colors are really well balanced and how each one has a different feel and how you can mix them to great success. And the game is still around many years after it's come out, something that most games can't say. Do you realize this game is getting close to being 20 years old? That is a mark of a great game.
Number 73, Carson City.
All right, a game that came on the list last year and still on my list, even though it's dropped a bit, is Carson City. Now, there are a lot of worker placement games out there. There's quite a few of them. Carson City feels different than the others because your workers can fight someone else's workers by having duels. There is a lot of different things going on, and as this game progresses, it's almost like a tile laying game because in this game you are taking different plots and cities and buildings and building this western town. It has a very strong Old West theme, which is a genre I like and very rarely is done well enough in a game for that game to be that interesting. So Carson City, it kind of made its splash when it first came out and everybody was playing Carson City and it was talked about. And now I hardly hear about it at all, but that does not mean it's a good game. It is a fantastic one. And if you like worker placement games at all, this is one that you certainly should try because it's a worker placement game with a bit of dice involved.
Woo! Number 72, Dragon Skull.
Now, Dragon's Gold, when I look at my list here, Dragon's Gold was on the list 5 years ago in position number 72. Here it is in position 72 again. It was actually not in position 72 last year. Last year it fell down, I don't know what it was, in the 120s position or something. That's because I just hadn't played it as much, but this year a new edition of it came out in a tin. Well, it looks nice anyway. But the thing is, I've always thought Dragon Gold was a great negotiation game. I play it every year at conventions when I take it to them, but this version came with some bigger pieces and nicer cards, and that had been one of my small problems with the game, was that the pieces were so tiny. Here they're a little bit bigger, everything is just a little bit nicer, and you know what? That helps. That does help, but I still like the game anyway. It was one I enjoyed quite a bit, so it was very easy. If you like negotiation games, you have a minute each time a dragon is killed to divide its treasure. No outside decisions involved. Right now, how are we 3 people going to split those 5 gems? Hilarity ensues, and that's why I like Dragon's Gold.
Number 71, Manila.
And incidentally, here's another game that's been on my list for 5 years. This one was in position 73 5 years ago, and now it's 71. That's pretty impressive that it stuck around that much. I tell you, as soon as I played Manila, the very first time I played it, it was at my very first Origins that I had gone to. And I sat down and I said, let's play this new game, Manila. And as soon as I played it, I said, let's play it again. And we played it, and I said, let's play it again. And if you know me, I don't do that very often with games because there's so many other new exciting games to see. But this game just was so much fun. It was like playing, it was gambling basically to see which of these boats would make it down the river faster, which ones would crash, which ones would survive. And that going on with the money, there's a little card element to the game, which is almost distracting, but it's necessary to keep the game moving and get points. But I just liked guessing which boats were going to make it and rolling of dice and manipulating those dice. It's an entertaining game with absolutely first-rate pieces. I mean, we're talking stunning pieces in this game. So if you ever get a chance to get Manila, it might look like, you know, kind of a slow boat race. It's not. It has nothing to do with boat racing at all. It basically just says, will these boats make it down the river in time to deliver their goods? And let's bet on it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of fun. And that's basically it for this time. That's 10 more games that were on my list and 10 more ties. You know, this one might make my top 10, although this might scare you if you don't like clowns. You got an ugly tie that, well, you think they're ugly, I suppose, that you don't want anymore, you can send them into the Dice Tower. I'll wear them on one of my episodes. But if you do like these top 10, then stay tuned, because next week on Tuesday, I will have 10 more for you. And if you're getting bored waiting for that, you can always check out the People's Choice Top 100. Incidentally, 2 of the games that I mentioned today were on the People's Choice. Carson City was 142 for People's Choice, and Core Worlds was 121. A couple of the other games were also on the People's Choice, but they're higher, so we don't want to spoil those. Which ones were they? Well, you'll have to wait and see. But anyway, you can check those out. You can check out Melody Vasel's. All of these are on our website, where we have a list of all the games, and if there's a review that I've done of any of these games, there'll be a link to that review. So I hope you enjoy that. Remember, you can find all of that on Dicetower.com. See you next time.
Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.